Welcome, everyone. My name is Nina Benoit. I'm the director of Society at Brightest, host of the AI Society podcast, and keynote speaker on AI and sustainability. So, for first time listeners, this podcast talks about all things related to artificial intelligence and sustainability, exploring how AI can have a positive impact on our planet and our people, and what potential limitations or risks we need to be aware of. So, today I'm very happy to welcome Dr. Julia Stamm. Julia is a leading entrepreneur focused on women and AI and the founder of She Shapes AI, a global community for women in AI that champions responsible AI for social impact. She has worked to spotlight the work of female AI entrepreneurs in areas like AI in climate or AI in democracy, running trainings for female leaders and supporting them in building a strategic point of view in AI, on AI. So, Julia, thank you so much for joining us on the AI Society podcast. It's truly a pleasure to have you here and to help us understand how can we help women take a leading place in the AI narrative today.
Thanks very much, Nina. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation and for the beautiful introduction.
Of course. And it's also important to mention that you were recommended by several people on LinkedIn. So definitely happy that this worked out. And I think a lot of people are excited about this podcast as well.
Yes. So I'm very much looking forward to our conversation.
Super. So to start off, my first question would be whether you can briefly share how you first became interested in working at the intersection of women, entrepreneurship, and AI, and what motivated you to found She Shapes AI.
Yes, so it's a long story. I'll try to make it, rather short. I've spent the majority of my career really at the intersection of research, innovation, technology, policymaking, etc. And I've moved from focusing on research and innovation to then innovation and technology. Then I was working on data, and then obviously the natural path leads one to AI. When you're in data, AI is not very far. I had already, before founding She Shapes AI, built another organization called the Futures Project. And this Futures Project focused really on thinking about how can we come up with shared visions for our future, and how do we use innovation and technology to help us get there, right? And it was within this context that I started to first work with entrepreneurs who were already building solutions to, some of our most pressing challenges. And I was just so excited by everything I saw, happening in the world. I built the Futures Project during the pandemic, and it was just amazing to see these positive, innovations, technologies, this focus on, addressing, real, very, complex and tricky problems. And we ran a competition, a global competition that was quite successful. The ones winning were predominantly women. So I think we had 3/4 of the winners were women. And so I just saw sort of the potential already that is there in entrepreneurship. And then later on, I read a lot, I studied a lot, and I found out, for instance, that women are 3 times more likely to found social impact ventures, right? So this is when I started to become really interested in entrepreneurship. And then sort of everything came together, my interest in AI, data, technology. I have been an entrepreneur myself for a number of years, know how difficult that is. And when I started to dive deeper into AI, I was starting to get a little frustrated by the absence of women that I saw in the debate, but also in the public sphere, right? There are a lot of these are the 6 most important women in AI. It's always the same ones. They're mostly from the US. And I just knew that there were more. And I also thought I would like for all of us to have a broader understanding of what AI can actually do for us, and that it doesn't stop at, efficiency and productivity, and that there is this promise of AI to actually support humanity. But it's not something necessarily that we all see happening as of yet. And so the idea really with She Shapes AI was manifold. It was, say, first of all, to spotlight the work of women in the field, to show that you can develop and use AI to actually address real world problems and to generate positive social impact, but also to really sort of make sure that we can, can have a broader societal discussion on AI and the direction it takes.
That's really fascinating and very interesting. Also, the statistics that you shared about the likelihood of women founding social-based startups, right? That's definitely interesting, and your work seems very relevant based on that, also.
Yes, I mean, I didn't know the statistics beforehand, but there's another one that, I would like to throw in here. And I think this is 24 statistics of the World Economic Forum that basically said less than 1% of funding for AI applications goes to impact-driven applications, right? And so then you have a problem. You see, so women are 3 times more likely to found like social impact ventures. And I'm really talking ventures, so it's not nonprofits, right? But there's an issue that we somehow have reached a moment in time where we're thinking either you do something that's good for the planet and for people, and that it needs to be a nonprofit, or you make a lot of money with your startups. But actually, it should be possible to do both. And so whenever I talk about social entrepreneurship, right, it's entrepreneurship that actually addresses problems. And I think everyone should, should bear this in mind. And then when we're looking at AI, right, there is only very little funding that goes to, as I said, impact-driven applications. And there's also very little funding that goes to women, female entrepreneurs, not only in AI, in technology in general, startups in general, right? We all know the numbers. And so you just see that there is a problem here. There is not a lot of money that goes to impact-driven AI. There is not a lot of money that goes to female founders. And women, just have a tendency to focus more on founding ventures that actually have a societal impact. So, I really think this in sort of promoting this intersection and showing that we have to pay a lot of attention to this and really try to change the game here is something that, makes me rather passionate.
Definitely. And so you've highlighted the challenge that you were just talking about now that female AI entrepreneurs face, especially the lack of visibility and funding compared to the tools provided by men. In the Silicon Valley, for instance, in your view, what are the highest barriers preventing women from getting the visibility and funding that they deserve?
I think there are many, right? And there are lots of studies out there. So maybe just a few. So funding decisions are still taken predominantly by men, right? There are very little women actually in VC firms and VC companies. And this is something, that is slowly changing, but it takes a lot of time. Women also, introduce their work in a very different way than male teams, tend to do a little less self-assertive, a little less, this is gonna be, like 300 times more profitable than all of the others, much more realistic, but also this is not necessarily something that is, acknowledged in a positive way. So it's a lot about the language. It's a lot about how, women approach funding decisions, the realism, they might portray when it comes to assessing the work that they're doing, then who actually, takes the funding decisions. So there is just a lot of, there are just many, many different angles where I think we really need to reconsider and shift perspectives. There is a lot of work going on. There are many reports being published, and this topic gets more and more attention. I really think it needs to, because I think the latest numbers were that female founders receive like 2% of VC funding, which is like ridiculous, right?
2%.
It's
Wow.
dramatic, really. So it's not even 20, it's not even 25 or 30. And if you are a man and you've co-found a startup with a woman, then you're actually being penalized because you're doing this with a woman. For the women, it increases her chances to get investment.
Yeah.
For the men, it actually decreases. So numbers say a lot, and this is why I keep repeating them, because it's just something that is absolutely unbelievable if you hear these numbers for the first time.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned that 79% of men feel confident about using AI versus only 21% for women. How do you think companies and the community can work to bridge this gap?
Yeah. First of all, I need to correct myself. When I quoted the numbers, they were not entirely correct. It's 71% of men versus 29% of women. I just checked again this morning.
Yeah.
So, and this, it's right. They report being confident, and women are less confident about their skills. And so that is something that we're not only seeing in AI, right? Men tend to be more confident when it comes to their capabilities. This when it comes, all of these statistics that look into when a job is advertised, right? A woman will apply for the job if she thinks she, fulfills all criteria 100%. And, for men, it doesn't necessarily have to be that case. So it's just very different approach. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. What I'm saying is that they are different and that we have to acknowledge them, and that we can't just always go and say, well, the women are lagging behind. They need to be upskilled. They need to be adopting AI more. I would say, yes, absolutely. I'm absolutely convinced that women need to work with AI, need to learn how to navigate AI. But I'm also saying in a tendency, more critical approach to AI is something that is rather healthy. And I would like, our societies to consider this and respect this a little more. I really think it is great to adopt new technologies, but here we have a technology that has, a lot of very concrete and sincere implications on the way our structures work, our societies work, our democracies work, etc., etc. So I really think a bit of reflection, a bit of pausing, a bit of thinking, yes, is this what I want to do? What are the values behind? What, do I need to consider? What are the potential implications? It's actually something that is much needed. And so when your question was, how can society or, in companies support? I would say, yes, absolutely. Support women who, in upskilling, right? Women are, I think there was a recent report that I can dig out for you that said that companies are more likely to upskill their male employees than their female employees. So there is a gap here. So this absolutely needs to be tackled, but maybe it also needs to be tackled in a very different way. And it's again, and this is what we're trying to do with our training, because what we have built really responds to requests and needs from women who are, running teams in organizations, who are in leadership roles, and who say we do not have the confidence to actually join any of these discussions because we think we do not know enough, but also because we want a way that is responsible, that is ethical, where we understand the implications. And so it's not only about the technical issues, it's not about coding or prompting, it's really more about understanding the big picture. And so this is kind of the training we're providing, and I really think this is also where I would love more of the discussion to go, or the direction I would like the discussion to go in more.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is definitely a very good resources then for any females that are trying to start their startup, to get some VC funding, especially in the field of AI, right?
Yes. I mean, I'm not sure whether it will help them to get VC funding, but they would feel, I think, more confident when it comes to their knowledge and understanding of AI and the implications and how to navigate it. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So then hopefully some more funding with more confidence. That's the idea.
Yes. I would also say, just coming back to our earlier discussion when it comes to funding for women-led startups, women also work on topics that are not so much on the radar as of yet, right? Because women tend to be also very anchored in communities and really see where problems arise and then, start to build around this. So I would also say it's actually smart investment, right? Because very often these solutions that are being proposed, they tap into, new markets. And I think, so it's not just an equity issue. It's also it's an economic issue as well. You can actually tap into new markets and access new customers and resources by also supporting women-led ventures.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. And so what would you advise women who are trying to educate themselves on AI and how to get this knowledge today, to get the resources and confidence they need to thrive in the current job market?
Well, first of all, I think the most important thing that I always like to share is you are not behind. This is what I hear so often. You are not behind. Everyone is more or less at the same level. Some might be a little more confident or might talk about it a little more, but at the end of the day, you'd be surprised. Basically someone who says, I am totally AI fluent, and what they can do is to sort of prompt ChatGPT. I would say, that's probably not all of it. So that is really, so just don't think you're lagging behind. You are not. And also don't think that when you're asking yourself questions that this is negative. No, go for it. Embrace your criticism. Embrace this questioning. Embrace the fact that you think about broader issues and about responsibility. But I would also say go about it with a lot of joy, and enthusiasm to experiment. There's a lot of fabulous stuff that can be done with the help of AI. So go there, play around, find peers, And that is something actually that we hear a lot, and this is something we're providing, right? To do this in a community with others, where you can ask questions, say, I've tried this. This is the result that it gave me. Or, I just found the most amazing application and sharing this. And so, yeah, that's probably some of the things that I would recommend.
And how can listeners join your program? How does this work?
So yes, we have two things that I can talk about. So as our flagship program under the She Shapes AI Awards, and this is where we spotlight female entrepreneurs around the world who use and develop AI to address real world problems. And so this is a global community. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. You can also be someone interested in AI, working in AI. It's really something that we're building, and we are running events online, offline, and the next in-person event will be in London. It's going to be our awards ceremony for this year, where we will honor the women who will win this year's awards across a range of categories. And the second one is the offering that I specifically referred to earlier. It's our executive AI intensive training, right? If you are a woman who wants to sort of upskill and up her game in AI, but more from a strategic and fluency perspective, not so much from a technical and prompting perspective, but really to say, I want to feel equipped to join in discussions. I want to feel equipped to actually take decisions when it comes to AI adoption, implementation, but also to be the one who can ask questions, who can support the team. Then, we are offering monthly cohorts, highly curated, where you'll meet other women who are in exactly the same situation. And you'll be able to work together, learn together, question each other, and also, have a lot of fun while doing this. So you find everything on our website, but also please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or send me an email.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I think that's a fantastic offer for a lot of women that are trying to upskill. And I can already think about a few people in my network that would be very interested in joining. So that sounds like a very good, a great initiative. And what is the time commitment for people who want to join?
Yeah, so this is our initial offering. We will be expanding this to even more intensive courses and deep dives and retreats. But right now it's 1 week. Every day, 120 minutes and 5 modules, right?
Okay.
And you will be trained by experts from our community and myself. You get access to a lot of resources, and then also access to our community, later on. So it's very doable, but it's also very intense, and it will give you the results that I think you're looking for at the end of the day.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think it's also a reasonable time commitment for anyone who's busy. I think if you say, okay, I will dedicate 1 week to learning everything about AI that I need to know for my job for 2 hours a day, that sounds like a reasonable time commitment for sure.
Okay. And what I might want to highlight is that we've developed this program really together with women, who are in these roles and who said, this is what we are looking for. And we ran it, and the feedback has been amazing. So I'm rather confident when I'm here. So, this is something that I can recommend.
Well, that's wonderful. We will definitely add the link to this podcast for anyone who's interested in joining and wants to upskill in the field of AI. So, Julia, this has been a really great conversation. Thank you so much for sharing all your insights and expertise on women and responsible AI. It was a pleasure.
It was a huge pleasure, Nina. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And so to everyone listening, if you found this episode valuable, please make sure to like, comment on this episode, share it with someone who might enjoy or benefit from this discussion, or you think who might be interested in joining this program. You can also connect with Julia or myself on LinkedIn to keep up with our work. My name is Nina Benoit, and this is the AI Society podcast. See you next time.
Bye.